thank you all for coming out. We appreciate it. And so it's good to see so many friendly faces and faces that I already knew. We're going to be getting started in just about a few minutes with our speaker. Well, I have a couple of delays. I had a couple of testimonies that were going to be speaking and contact me. They're on their way. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I kind of talk low when I get nervous, so it may drop back a little bit. Bear with me. So what we have today is we're here and today is the memorial of Tamir Rice. A year ago today, Tamir Rice was shot by police. And so we're here today to talk about some of the things that we want to do as a community accountability, community working together to try to resolve conflict ourselves. The more, if I get to know you and you get to know me, the more likely we are not to hurt or harm one another, right? And we can control things within our community. And sometimes just like that person calling the cops saying a kid was playing with a gun in the park, the kid's life is gone. So we want to prevent those things. And a lot of times they happen because people have painted a picture of African Americans, they happen to African American children and people more because people are already scared. They're already more nervous when they come in contact with an African American person. They already think the worst. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to come together and come up with solutions, come up with ideals among ourselves that's going to help us kind of de-escalate things when we come in contact with cops, or help us not pick up that phone every time we want somebody to come along and be a referee for us. You know, I'm mad at my wife, I'm mad at my girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, and my husband got to go now. And they pick up the phone and they call the cops. But sometimes it doesn't always play out the way that person planned. You know, they're going to get back with him in a week, but they're going to call the cops on him. His life is lost, or maybe he's in jail for a long time for some trumped up charges, you know, or some unnecessary stuff. And when I say trumped up charges, I'll share one time I was there when somebody called the cops on their husband, and that law had changed where when you call the cops, somebody's got to go to jail, and the DA is going to press charges if you don't. So you can't drop the charges. And I knew what happened, but this person was saying her husband did this when she's the one pushed him. And he was just stopping her from hurting him, you know, because he wasn't letting her hit him. And he went to jail, and I said, if you don't tell the truth, I will. But that was when the DA took the charges and pressed the charges against him. You know, so a lot of times we'll call the cops, and we just want the cops to come for a referee. We're just mad right now. We want to blow off some steam, and then there the cops come, and they take the loved one away, and you know you're getting back with them anyway. You know you're going to, you know, unless it's really serious. Sometimes there are really some serious matters. But what we want to do is we want to come together where there are some times when you know you don't need to call the cops at all. Don't pick up that phone. Do some critical thinking. Think of some other ways that you can resolve conflict. Think of some other ways that you can handle or create peace among you without having to pick up the phone. And then more harm is done. A lot of times when the cops come, action happens. It starts as soon as the cops hit the door, as soon as the cop hit the street, the action starts. And sometimes you can't stop that action. So how do you de-escalate that? How do you take control of that? You know, and how do you, as a people in the community, take power back among yourselves where you can resolve issues that would not normally have gotten blown up the way they were. You know, this young man's life did not have to be lost. His life did not have to be lost. So what we're gonna have some speakers talk to you today. We're gonna have a resolution read, and we're gonna have a workshop, and we're gonna have so we're gonna do a community gathering today, where we're gonna get to know the ones that are here. We're gonna get to know each other, and let me speak this, if you don't mind. We're gonna get and learn to love on each other. Okay, respect one another, you know, and that's what it's all about. Because if I know you, I'm least likely to do anything to you or to cause any harm. Okay, so I'm gonna have one of our. Well, I'm waiting right now on her to do this to put this down so that she can read this resolution. and then we'll go to our next. We have three testimonies that were coming to speak to us today, and one of them called and said that she's here in the area trying to get here. So I really wanted you to hear her testimony, and when she comes, we'll have her speak. So why don't you all kind of mingle, and those that don't know each other, I have a list going around for you to sign. And if you don't know each other, kind of get to know each other for a few minutes.
Mark. I heard about you in the church. You guys here?
You know, I guess there was a Apostle Charles last time in August. And kind of met him all back. So I started tapping along, I guess. Well, you know, it's pretty telling of the times, you know.
Right.
You know, we're so you can I know it pretty well, you know, I mean, I haven't experienced it myself. I've experienced a lot of pretty experiences, but, you know, nothing to the extent that every country is like this, you know, anybody, even employers, anybody who has a position of authority tends to abuse it. Could be your boss or supervisor, you know. You take out our trash. You don't want to take out the trash? Fine. You know, make it part of your job. Because it's all about submitting. And you say, oh, you should have just stayed. You didn't resist it. That's how it starts. You know, even if it's this, like, you lick my boots. Even though. Exercising ego and immaturity.
Yeah. I understand different movements. This Black Lives Matter.
Okay. Ladies, you know, I was going to mention a little bit about like what just happened to Cerise not so long ago, but you know, the moms that come stuff on even the cops will be like, okay, give me your camera and snap it on the but somebody else is filming it.
So excuse me everybody, what I want to say is I'm gonna pass around some paper for everybody if they have any questions. We appreciate you write your questions down, and when we get toward the end, then where there's time we will talk about it or discuss them when we're eating. Okay, the idea was to discuss them during the time of eating, but people won't be able to have those questions to be able to look at and go over them and discuss them.
There were.
What she said.
Well, no, the rest, you know, they've actually been kind of filming the last 6 months or so, right? Sandra Button's kind of last one. You just have to wonder, are they stifling people? You know, or are they just being a little more careful? Because bunch of jobs, you know, high schoolers, junior high, so that's even material. Hey, we just gotta get them, doesn't matter who you get.
Yeah.
So you're earning 70,000 just as a recruiter.
I see that situation on the cops and
Yeah. Oh, and they're like, well, you know, he had me in the back.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, they're like, I fear for my life. Yeah, you know, and so here you go. Here you go with the post. You know,
Hi.
okay, let's change it.
My name is Gertrude Smith, and I am the organizer of the
Today.
Pause the Calls campaign. Pause the Calls was needed or is needed because we are currently in a state where we rely heavily on state intervention and involvement when it's not absolutely necessary. And this is to help people kind of like wean us off of using those resources that oftentimes end up being toxic towards marginalized people, specifically Black people. And so with that, I would like, since we're nearing on the new year, I would like to read a resolution that I think that everyone should consider taking. It's a resolution, can you guess? To call the police. Okay. So it's from a website called truthout.org, and it just I'm gonna paraphrase because that's kind of how I read. So it's called a New Year's resolution. Don't call the police. Looking for a New Year's resolution? If you haven't already, there's never been a better time to resolve not to call the cops. This resolution is more than a boycott or even a political protest. It's the beginning of a thought process and a dialogue, both internal and external, that challenges us to build new relationships with our friends, family, and neighbors. It's a spark in the imagination that leads us to dream about a free world. For those of us who weren't already aware, the events of this past year and past few years have made it clear that the police often do more harm than good, especially in communities of color. From the streets of Ferguson to Missouri to Berkeley to New York City to Salinas, people from all walks of life have been loudly resisting the power of police who all too often prove themselves to be racist, armed, and dangerous. At our rallies, we chant the names of the dead we chant the names of the dead. Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, who we are honoring today, Eric Garner, and so many others. Some cops just bully people, but a lot of times others kill people, and the justice system lets them get away with it. In 2012, a study by the Malcolm X grassroots movement found that police summarily executed more than 313 Black people, an average of one every 28 hours. I actually have a friend whose husband has a single called 28 Hours dedicated to, police and vigilante violence against Black bodies. It's really cool. She's actually going to be here later to talk about her experiences, and yeah, hopefully you guys can get at her to get that pick up for his album and everything. Anyways, not to derail too long. This is not a new problem. Police routinely target certain people for minor crimes such as drug possession and loitering, or for no crime at all. simply stopping them for driving while black or walking while woman. Last year, the ACLU found that blacks were 3.7 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than whites, despite similar rates of drug use. In some counties, that number reaches 30 times higher. As a result, people of color and other marginalized people are disproportionately warehoused in a vast prison system which tears families apart and only exacerbates the cycles of poverty,
She was gonna sneeze.
Yeah, I think she was.
Real person, real person.
I'm allergic to reading.
Speak to
It exacerbates the cycles of poverty, crime, and violence. Police officers are all individuals, but it's impossible to say that they are all bad at their jobs. Or we can just say that the job that they have is bad for them. In general. Maybe we shouldn't. Anyways, that they're all. However, police have sworn to uphold laws that systematically disenfranchise, marginalize, and working people. Yeah, pretty much what I just said. So, working people for the benefit of the rich and powerful. Consider Ferguson, where one young man participating in protests in August told me that local police often harass and even ticket young black men for failing to walk on a sidewalk on a street that doesn't have sidewalks. Yeah. If they can't pay that ticket, the court fees add up and they could end up in jail, separated from their families and their livelihoods. A few days later, the media began citing a report by local public defenders that detailed how racial profiling, along with local legal system designed to keep people wrapped up in its web, fills the coffers of local municipalities in the St. Louis area that pay the wages of cops who are supposed to protect and serve everyone equally. That doesn't happen though. This may not be news to you. Perhaps you have already resolved not to call the police because you yourself are unfairly criminalized by the color of your skin, your personal behavior, or some other reason. You know from experience that the police are better at escalating than de-escalating situations, ranging from domestic conflicts to political protests and even the sale of a few cigarettes in the case of Eric Garner. Or in my personal case, you resolved not to call the police because you've witnessed how they've handled situations with other people who, you didn't necessarily feel like it was necessary for them to use force or even to arrest them in the first place. And you may have been internalized that experience and become traumatized by that person's experience. You empathize with them so much that it pained you to witness that, and that was why I resolved personally. And there's a host of other reasons why you could resolve to not call the police. If you have not yet made this decision though, consider that not calling the police raises some difficult but important questions. It forces us to consider whom we feel potentially threatened by and why. And how are we defining safety? Do we feel unsafe in working class neighborhoods or around people with certain styles of dress or colors of skin? Even if those people look like us, is it internalized that we feel like we are not good enough, and so, we're aggressive towards people who are like us because we feel like if they're like you, then obviously they can't be good enough and they deserve the unfair treatment that they receive.
A little louder, please.
Oh, sorry. So what prejudices cause this fear? Resolving not to call the police inspires us to consider alternatives. Instead of calling the police to complain about a loud party at your neighbor's house, you could address your neighbors directly with the intent of having a constructive conversation about each other's needs. Talking with our neighbors about taking responsibility for keeping our community safe and happy helps us learn from each other and establish trust. The first steps towards building relationships that are strong enough to confront more complicated problems such as bullying or domestic violence. And I know that seems really far-fetched, but we can get to a place where we can resolve issues like that without, calling in somebody whose main idea of resolving it is to use a significant amount of force. Violence is the most serious challenge. If you feel that your safety is threatened and the best option to avoid being harmed is calling the police, you should probably do that. I haven't been in that situation just yet, so I can't speak from experience there. Resolving not to call the police is not a rule, just a way to think outside the box. Rules are for the cops, not for us. There are proven models for dealing with difficult social issues without the police. One example, police in cities arrest more people on drug offenses than most other crimes, and a vast majority of all drug arrests are for possession, not sale or manufacturing, which basically means that, people are being arrested for their personal recreational activities. However harmful we feel they are to that individual, it just mostly affects them. They're not selling it, so they're not influencing other people to use it. Anyways, the harm reduction movement has effectively implemented many community-based strategies to reduce the harms caused by drug use while empowering drug users and non-drug users alike to work together toward healing and treating addiction. Throwing people in jail for using drugs causes harm by seriously interrupting their lives while reinforcing the stigma around drug use that drives people in need of help into the shadows. So it further alienates the people who really need help, because a lot of times the root of drug use is, some internal hurt or even physical hurt that they feel that they don't want to share because it makes them too vulnerable. And if we eliminate, the stigma to that vulnerability, people will feel more comfortable with discussing their hurts, discussing their hurts, habits, and hang-ups. I saw that alliteration at church today. Somebody said, we can discuss our hurts, habits, and hang-ups to get better. Across the country and the world, people are using models of transformative and restorative justice to address offenses such as violence, sexual assault, and domestic abuse without involving the police. These models use cooperative processes with survivors of the offense, often directly involved to repair the harm and trauma caused by the offense, while holding the offenders accountable to the survivors and working with them to transform their behavior. I think that is awesome. Taking responsibility for keeping our communities safe and seeking justice under our own terms is not an easy task. And I think that's, one of the main reasons why we feel so comfortable with picking up the phone and calling the police at the smallest sign of an issue. It may sound radically ideal, like a dream or a fairy tale even. This dream, however, is already shared by a critical mass of people. Not to mention, it has proven at least somewhat effective, in our ancestors' times, wherever you're from. I'm pretty sure there was a group of people who dealt with issues head-on, hands-on, without, necessarily, I guess, passing the buck and saying, you deal with this problem because I don't have the time for it, or something like that. So this dream is shared by a lot of people, and it's a dream of a world where the struggle for true freedom is explicitly connected to our own collective empowerment and mutual compassion. And I urge you guys to keep this world in your heart and dream beyond the easy solution of the police. And that's it for that resolution. And I'm pretty sure I've talked a little bit longer than I was supposed to, so next I'm going to call up Miriam Smith.
Hi, back again. So we're going to have, right now, we have the Lamont here with a table from the Village Project, and he also has things that he want to talk to you about that he has available. The Prop 47, he's going to talk to you about that. So we're going to have him come up next.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lamont Joyce. I work at the Village Project. I'm the program manager for Youth Health, Youth Equity and Justice. Also the Seaside Prop 47 representative, processing applications on site for applicants there. Today I brought applications. If you don't know what Prop 47 is, it just celebrated 1 year anniversary last week. November 4th was the 1 year anniversary date. We voted on Prop 47 a year ago. It was passed. What it does is reclassifies 6 non-violent felonies, and it allows a person to be able to get those reclassified to misdemeanors. Or those 6 felonies are, I have them all listed there, but one is simple drug possession, forgery, petty theft, grand theft, under $950. All these are $950 or less dollar amount. Check fraud, writing bad checks, and receiving a stolen property under $950. So anyone with those 6 felonies can have an opportunity to get those reclassified. As you know, a lot of these felonies that are nonviolent are affecting anybody that has one of those crimes. It's affecting things such as financial aid, student loans, food stamps, jobs. You have to mark you have a felony for simple drug possession. You might have been 18, there's 38 today. This is your opportunity to get that reclassified and overturned. You no longer have to claim that felony. Again, I didn't come up here with any big spiel. I wanted to share Prop 47. I will be doing processing applicants today, and that's about it. Thank you.
So our next speaker is going to be a testimony. So we have with us Rita, who has had an experience, and she's from Salinas, California. And we're going to listen to her tell her story, and then we have some of the other speakers from as well.
Hello, my name is Rita Acosta. On June 5th, me and my son were coming home from bingo, and he ended up going into Jack in the Box, and I tried to meet up with him a little bit after that, and he ended up having an episode on Main Street. I called the police and asked for a medical unit to also come, and in the middle of my 911 call, I heard my son yelling. He was yelling, "Mom, Mom, help me!" So I stopped talking on the phone, and I just started making my way to my son. And when we met each other, I just held him and just was telling him, "What's wrong with me? Oh, what's wrong?" But he was just, I guess that day, I was just saying, he wasn't fighting the police department that day. He was fighting his own demons that day. And so I tried to, he held on to me. I was holding on to him. He just kept trying to get away from me, and so I just dropped and wrapped myself around his legs so he wouldn't move anymore into the street, because we were right in the middle of the intersection, and it was at a busy time of the traffic. So when the cops did respond, I just remember hearing them say, "Step away from her, step away from her," and then they started pulling my son away from me. But again, when I called, I asked for help. I wasn't saying that I needed help, that my son needed help. So as they were pulling my son, again, they tell him, stop, and stand still. But my son, he was already going through one of his episodes. He was feeling like, I guess he was being attacked, because he just kept screaming for help for me. And when I seen his face when he came up to me, I was like, oh my God, my son's, he looked like, he was so terrified. So, every time I tell it, it's harder and harder. The beginning was easy, but the time's gone by now that we started getting in jail for a little bit more, so it's just like gets to me even more now. But instead of the police giving me help, they ended up beating my son really bad. They cracked his head open. He got 37 staples in his head. The police said it was minor abrasions to his head with one accidental hit. That's what it did. And they also, they tased my son. Once again, like I said, he wasn't himself. He was going through it. And well, they keep on telling him to stay still. There's no way any human being's gonna be able to stay still when you're being hit. And he was being hit over and over again with the police baton. And they're telling him to stay still, but as they're hitting him, just like a kid, you hit them, they're not going to stay still, they're going to move. And we tell them to stop crying, but we're spanking them. Just like that's what was happening with him. They just kept on hitting my son, and while they were doing that, for a quick bit, I see my son stop moving, so when he stopped, I thought he was dead, And I kept yelling to the police, "Please leave my son alone. He's sick." I called for help. Nobody came and assisted me. Nobody came up to me. Just right when they got my son off me, they were focused just on him. Because they got other calls from other people saying that there was a man trying to throw a woman into the street. So that's what they responded to. And I'm like, so what happened to my call? I called for help. This is not what I wanted. I called for help for my son to go to the hospital. I didn't want him to go this way. But they, as they were hitting him, I tried making my way to where they were at, and I got closer to them, and I told them, get back. And then, after when they calmed my son down, they kept saying, the newspaper was saying my son was way out of control the whole time, and that behind the ambulance, he was attacking the ambulance and a fireman and a policeman and stuff like that. I was like, that's pretty weird, because when I looked at the video, I noticed at the end, my son was just laying there, because they had a bag over his head. He was just they left him in the street for a little bit until they put him on something and carried him off. But then they sat him on the curb, and again, they left him right there while they were talking. So I was like, he was so out of control that they left him unattended 2 times. And when they finally put him in the ambulance, officer, after all this, the officer came and asked me, did I need medical attention? And I said, I didn't need medical attention, that I called for my son. And he said, okay then, so is your son a gang member? And if he is he active? I was like, what does that have to do with my 911 call? I called for help for my son. And they're just, what's your son's name again? I never gave you my son's name. I'm like, what's going on? And they said my son was attacking the paramedics and stuff behind the ambulance, but he was strapped down from the top all the way down to his ankles, and said that he was attacking them because he got one of the firemen, there was an ambulance driver / fireman. So I guess he bent one of his fingers back, so that was the attack part. And he also had a band over him, but they said that he kept on trying to bite them. I was like, wow, I mean, he's really assaulted them really bad, I guess. That's what they were saying, but under what I was told, my son didn't assault anybody. He was being assaulted in the back of that ambulance also at the same time from the police department while he was strapped down there. You know, we got him to the hospital. We didn't. The ambulance took him to the hospital. They never let us see him. We didn't get to see him at all. The whole, it was like starting around 7, 9 o'clock came, 10, 11, 12. We never got to see my son. They said that he was, they had sedated him. But we were told that they had sedated him behind the ambulance. But all in all, there were so many lies that we were told that my son didn't go straight to the hospital. They ended up leaving him in the holding tank there, and the sheriff's department's the one who took him. So, again, I still can't understand how it went from me calling from help to my son sitting in county jail still. They had him like for all kinds of felony charges, and I was just like, my God, what have I done? You know, I called for help, and this is what, you know, so I felt guilty. My daughter was going through too, because she was going out of town and she didn't come back because he asked to be able to go to her house. So I'm already on the road. So our whole family was going through it right now, but, you know, just, I always have to say that the truth will come out for the fact that my story's still been the same since day one, you know. They said my son was assaulting me, which he didn't. They took pictures of me. I didn't have not one bruise on me because I was trying to help my son out, asking for help for myself. Even though there was people all around me with their cameras out, taking pictures and watching. Well, look there, he got like loose for me. So I just, as he's moving, I'm still holding on to him, trying to not let him get into the street. But I was yelling out, "Somebody help me!" Not one person moved, but there were several people already out. They were close enough to help. I guess they were maybe scared because the way he was, but you know, just again, the police department. I don't know. I like every time now when I hear the ambulance and the fire department, all the sirens all together, it just takes me back to that day, and it just gets worse. And the police, they don't send anybody to help afterwards. You know, just say, "Are you okay?" You know, nobody asked me what was going on with my son. They didn't say if he was assaulting me, no nothing. They didn't even know he was my son till the next day. And I don't know, I can't really really more to say, just careful. It's not a crime to be sick, and they don't have training. They say they do, but they don't. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Rita, for telling us your story. Now I would like to invite Ms. Pamela Lesson to come up and share her experience with alternatives.
Hello, everybody. Hi. I'm going to start with the chant that we did last year because this will help you realize what the alternative is. So if you could all stand up for a minute. Now, with the women, I'm going to have you speak the first part, and then with the men, I'm going to have you follow. Okay? Because why that I'm saying this is from last year to now, we started something. With every person who was shot, with every family member that the media told the story, the danger of one story is that experience that a mother has to live. Last year when my son got hit by a train, in Antioch they call him a transient. In dealing with Salinas, they didn't continue medication. He went to San Jose and up in Antioch without medication. He hit in the back of the head, and he's not here anymore. My son's name is Christopher. whether it deals with Ms. Rice, Ferguson, or anything else. The greatest thing that you can do is stand up. With Michael, we walked through Monterey. The cops asked us, why are you here? I said, did you lose anybody? I mean, the first thing is why? So knowing your purpose and knowing that we are a community, that makes a difference. So I'm gonna start with this. Say, ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people won't stop. Women.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people won't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people won't stop.
Women.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people won't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop.
Now children. Say what? So, say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what?
Say what? Say what?
Now man say, I am somebody. 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 Now women.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
Somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody.
Women.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody.
Now women.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power.
Now elders in the house. I am somebody started with Jesse Jackson and all that, so I want them to lead us now.
I am somebody.
I am somebody.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody.
All the people in the house.
I am somebody.
Now,
I am
keep on
somebody. I am somebody.
You guys.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. Power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. I am somebody. I am somebody. Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop.
say my son can't speak for himself. He's part black. When I Am Somebody happened, it was in the 60s. And then was. So with Rita and the rest of the women, Michael knows, we were out there. And with signs, we held no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. So the most important thing first is to know we are that somebody, and that's how it won't stop. And then to know the life of Jose, of Richmar, of Mejia, all that, that's what brings us through. Because we're one community, one people. When Rita called for an alternative, she called for help, but what we need is, we need that de-escalation that happens with community members that know each other and that can help. So between calling and having violence, who was there? Rita came with us so that every time that she can't breathe out, we do. For Josie Ruiz, Angel Ruiz, basically they shot him. But why are they criminalizing families? The community that has one story with media is what causes the pain most of all. And dealing with a mother that can't ever see my son, the only way that I speak up is through the chant. Is speaking, Usmar, Mejia, Hernandez, Oscar Grant, whoever that it is, so that it comes on. So in whatever that you can do for Rita, so that she doesn't have to relive that, you can come to the courthouse. Because when the police officer said, I challenged the suspect, he didn't even know the use of force policy. So they were responding to an incident without knowing the people at all. So if we get to know each other, if we speak to each other, and after this, we don't just meet in some place, but we help and get to know what the neighbor needs. That's where we have an alternative. It's calling people, our friends and our loved ones. Then when I am somebody from our elders, they already went through this, to the smallest of all. So let this be the first day that we begin to know each other instead of calling, because if we take care of ourselves, nobody else can get involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pamela. That was really, that helped us to get, our, feel everything. So, next I would like to call up Deshaun Hobson.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deshaun Hobson. I'm a community liaison. They said Prop 47 outreach specialist. This was the title that we wear. Nevertheless, I'm a black man in America today. I spent over 20 years, a little bit over 20 years in prison by way of Texas and California. I'm home now. Amen.
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 In spite of that, we had Pam up there. She gave us when I was listening to the chant, I listened to the order that came in. It really gave us like a pecking order. The woman, the men, the woman, the child, the men, and it started going in that order. And then it came back to the elders, where it all started from the beginning. And we know that our women, they are everything. Because when we go to jail, we go to prison, it be our mamas and our grandmas hit them highways. Especially in our black communities today. When you look up in the stands from when you're on the football field, who you see up there? Your mama, your grandma. But daddy's still stuck on the bridge. See, I was a daddy stuck on the bridge. But I was also a child who was taken to the bridge and called for my daddy to come out and get me, but he didn't know how to get to that point. Oh, sure. Amen. So that's where we stand in our life. When I looked in the stands, and my dad wasn't there, so I never had that pat on the back from my dad. That okay, it's okay. Except I found mine on the corner, okay, for my homies, my big homies. So I just got in a fight, knocked somebody out, or put some work in, or did some of that. I see you, little nigga. Excuse my language for everybody that's offended by that, but that's my language right now. Okay, because that's what it was for me on the street. For y'all that must know what's going on in them corners, We get our accommodations from the brothers on the street because our fathers are not here. Our fathers are not here to tell us it's okay, son. Good catch, son. Let me see your report card. Except, you know, I come home and my report card is not as good as it's supposed to be, and I just happen to, my daddy happened to be over the day like, man, I saw him on the face him down, because the only time he showed when it comes time to bring the pressure of the pain. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be so. So today, and in spite of everything that's happening to us as black men, black women, we all suffer from that. There's the flip side of this. And the flip side of whatever's going on in our life today, we have to learn to heal. Okay? And that's where the community come in at. Okay? We need more Mr. Miyagi's, Mrs. Miyagi's to teach us young, old men, but young men in our heart how to wash on and wash off. We might have to get back to the basics. So y'all know y'all have no business out here with this loud music. Turn that down, please. We got people that got to go to work. It's a way to do everything. And if that voice, which is Brahma, don't come out and go right, that's what we get out of meology for and get into neology. Okay, so we're going to talk about a higher power. So I'm not trying to offend nobody, but everything we got to get into neology and get out of meology. Because sometimes we might not be able to tell them young way down here about their pants way down here. They might not listen to us. But we know somebody that we can tell that they going to send somebody that they will listen to. Okay, if y'all with me with that. Okay, we know we can tell somebody who to send to tell them to pull their pants up, and they'll listen to that. Okay, that takes the pressure up off us because we got what we call a buddy system. Okay, and this is how we bring our communities back into focus because everybody gonna need somebody. It's okay to be that Mr. Miyagi, that next door neighbor, to say, hey, come on, y'all. And while y'all over there waiting, get them trash cans, help me take this trash out because y'all know the trash is coming. It takes a village to raise a child, and we have to get back to that. And if we don't know how to get back to that, get out of meology and get into neology. God bless y'all.